So, what have I learned this past year to help me in business and in being in a community as a Canadian, and what that means as I interact with friends, colleagues, and others who are Indigenous? Good day. My name is Matthew Ewell from Leading with Nice, where we want to help you inspire others, build loyalty, and get results. Now, if you're in Canada, then no doubt you have been aware of the greater volume issues around our those who are Indigenous in Canada, what they're experiencing, what they're facing. And I don't know what the proper word is, but just it was probably 2019 when I learned about the 60 swap. This is where the government would take babies from Indigenous mothers, and typically white people would adopt them. I didn't know that had happened until 2019. When we learned about residential schools, you learn about that in 2020, 2021, and the last one just closed a handful of years ago, and you're conflicted about how to react to this. And so part of my journey has just been to first listen, learn, and then use my platform to amplify voices where I can. And not suggesting that my platform is super huge or massive, or that everybody who is would want a piece of it. But I do have it, and I'm fortunate to have it. So I was reading the Globe and Mail, and I read this amazing article by Hayden Taylor, and I'm going to see, I have it's behind a paywall now on the Globe and Mail as I record this in November 2021. And the article was called 7 Things You Should Never Say to an Indigenous Person, or Ask an Indigenous Person. And I was like, oh, good. I actually want to read this. I want to learn this and know, because am I saying things that I think are not offensive, but actually are because of my ignorance? And about halfway through, I was like, this is really funny. So it was a great article with lots of education, but also I'm a sucker for dry wit, and the dry sense of humor was amazing. And I said, I need to talk to this guy some more and just get some more learning and information from him. And so I reached out to Drew, and he agreed to be on my podcast, the Leading with Nice podcast. And here, the question I asked him is, okay, Drew's a writer. He's written a bunch of books, screenplays, theater, newspaper articles. He's a writer through and through. Successful in Canada. And so what I asked him is just to kind of explain from his standpoint, what does it mean today in 2021 to be a writer and also Indigenous, right? Because those things can be mutually exclusive, right? Like that, but does it, or can they be? I don't know. And so one of the things he shared with me that I thought was really awesome, and I took some notes here, and he shared with me that there was a time when Indigenous writing, not that this is the only thing that Indigenous writers wanted to write about, but the only platform, the only arena or topic they could write about was very stereotypical stories about Indigenous people. He told me a story about a screenplay he had written for a popular Canadian television show where one of the characters was Indigenous, but he spoke like the other characters, and it came back to me and said, oh no, this Indigenous character should be speaking I would say Tonto from the Lone Ranger, oh, me, bad guy, me do this now, very offensively. And he ended up just changing the whole character so they weren't Indigenous because it was just so bad. So there was a time when that was the only way, he says, that Indigenous writers could put their content out there. They're about Indigenous lifestyle, or they'd be from that context. And he talked about this. He said that a change started happening where he saw a book about a crime investigation that happened entirely on Navajo Reserve in the States. And it wasn't, yes, the characters were mostly Indigenous, but it wasn't, you could have swapped that out. And what he thought was amazing about that is, in the end, the writer of this novel ended up being invited to write a Star Wars novel because they're just a great writer. And that opportunity may not have been there before. And so what that opened my eyes up to is another question. I said, okay, so if this is true, that there's more opportunities now, and I have a desire to be an ally and support and help amplify people's voices who have not had the same opportunities as I've had, simply because I'm a white guy. Like, that's the only reason I've had opportunities that others haven't. I'm aware of that. What can I do? And he said, Matthew, it's not your personal responsibility to fix this problem. And I was like, interesting he said that. Did I actually ask that? I might have, and maybe that some people feel that way. But he recommended this. He said, when you see an Indigenous writer, a book, grab it, but not because it's an Indigenous person. Grab it because it's probably a good book. And it's subtle, that mind shift, or that difference in the approach. And he said, like, for example, if there's a press conference as an Indigenous journalist, should they sit front and center, get to ask all the first questions? He's like, no, that's not what it's about. And he said, but at the same time, people will then say, oh, I don't see color, which is insulting because we all see color, right? And people that make decisions have seen color and let that influence how they respond. So those are some of my takeaways from the conversation with him. And it's he's hilarious, but also like so insightful. And one thing he said to me at the very start in the podcast, he's like, just so you know, I don't speak for all Indigenous people. And he said, in fact, sometimes I look pretty Caucasian. So sometimes I even wonder if people think that they're not speaking to an Indigenous person. And I actually had somebody message me about how offensive it was that I had this guy who's not Indigenous talking about Indigenous people because he didn't look Indigenous. And I wrote back and I said, oh, maybe listen to the podcast for a few more minutes and you'll hear him talk about exactly that. I'm laughing because, yeah, man, he obviously this is not the first time he had to deal with that. So anyhow, check it out. If you're a business leader, thought leader, educator, human being on this journey, and especially in Canada and I would say the United States, it's just those are two regions I know this is an issue. I'm sure there are many more around the world. Drew really offers some great insight into as we seek justice and in a better society for everybody. He has some really great insight, and it's a great place to start if you're wondering how to start or where to start. So I just recommend check out the podcast, check out Drew's work. If you like dry wit, he's very talented. You'll love it. And he's been around since like the 90s writing stuff. He's so talented. I'm really appreciative that he made time to come on Leading with Nice Interview Series podcast. No other recommendations today. Just check out this podcast. And if you have an opportunity like this that you've been in a conversation with somebody, let me know. Leave it in the comments. I'd love to check it out myself as well. Until next time, I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to talking with you again.